somehow cultivate that feeling of bhakti to him, and we'll feel so much reciprocity.
If one develops love for Krishna by Krishna conscious activities, this is also important. If one develops love for Krishna, how? By Krishna conscious activities, one can know the supreme absolute truth. But he who tries to understand God simply by logical arguments will not succeed, nor will he get a taste for unalloyed devotion. I've told this to the devotees so many times before. When Prabhupada was in New Vrindavan, West Virginia, the devotees organized a big program for Nishinga Chaturdashi. And the morning and they hired a theatre or a big hall, and they put on a big program for Nishinga. But that morning, before the big program was going to happen in the evening, Prabhupada went on a morning walk. And he crossed over the bridge of the River Ohio, separates Pennsylvania from West Virginia. And in the middle of the bridge is a big plaque when the bridge was built, whatever year it was, and it's written, unalloyed steel. And Prabhupada said, you see, this is what we want. All the boys are looking, unalloyed steel. We want unalloyed devotion. No mix. So everything Prabhupada looked at was Krishna conscious. Everything was related to Krishna. Every single facet of his life, and he passed that on to his disciples. And you can see that in so many ways.
Unalloyed devotion means
Fixed.
completely fixed and completely unconditional.
Yeah.
Without any desire for
Yes.
jnana, karma,
Yeah.
moksha, nothing.
I would like to add some James from Bible. He kind of touched this ground as well. He said but wilt thou know, O vain man, thou faith without work is dead.
Yeah. Yeah. Faith without work.
Вера без дел мертва.
Faith without
Which part
work
of the
is
Bible?
dead.
Where's that from?
James 2:20.
Yeah, it's empty. It's empty.
So faith without works is dead, right?
Yeah. There has to be activity.
Yeah.
You can't just sit around and waiting for the sky to fall.
You just think,
Yeah. It doesn't work.
oh, you have to cook an offering, or you have to chant.
The secret is that one must submissively listen to those who know perfectly the science of God. So, how to, we must listen submissively, tadvidi pranipatena, for a start, right?
That's very significant. The secret is that one must submissively listen to those
Who know perfectly the science of God.
It's true.
And one must begin the mode of service regulated by the preceptor. Regulated. So what does it mean, regulated? I mean, there has to be a system. It's regulated. You know, there's a sequence of events that must happen. Not just boom. You know, it's like when you, Prabhupada used to quote that English saying, little drops of water wear away the stone. So if you have a bucket of water and you put a tiny little pinhole in the bottom of the bucket, so one drop at a time comes out and drops on a stone, it'll wear a hole in that stone eventually, right?
Yeah.
But you take the bucket of water and you throw the bucket of water on the stone, zero effect. So it's the same with us. You know, sometimes we're gushing in our level of service and devotion, and then boom, it dissipates and nothing happens forever. And then months or years later, boom, another burst of energy. Regulated, little drops of water wear away the stone.
So what's being said there is that we must seek out devotees, you know, the association of those who really perfectly know the science of God. I
Yes.
think that's what Srila Prabhupada is saying.
Yes.
Can I ask you about this word regulated by the preceptor.
The preceptor is the teacher.
So he wants who actually receives your service as a first initiate.
Yes.
So mainly can I understand this? You need to serve your spiritual master,
Yes, the preceptor.
the preceptor.
Whether the spiritual master, in this case the preceptor, can, as he explained earlier on, in the verse, Krishna Kaviraj Goswami is saying, I first offer my respectful obeisance to the lotus feet of my initiating spiritual master and all my instructing spiritual masters. So they would all be the preceptors.
Wow.
All of them.
So without, can I ask you please? So the secret, submissively listen and then begin. So the beginning is to serve, to begin service regulated by the preceptor. So you start to do something for this person as a reciprocation from listening.
In a regulated way.
And wow.
Yes.
And it could be a shiksha guru, not in the diksha. So you can start to do it in a temple
Yes.
to any devotee actually.
Yes. Yes. Because whatever position any devotee is in, that position is that devotee is in that position because of a higher authority, isn't it?
Yeah.
A devotee already attracted by the, now this is important, a devotee already attracted by the name, form, qualities, etc. of the Supreme Lord may be directed to his specific manner of devotional service. He need not waste time in approaching the Lord through logic. So he'll be given that direction. The expert spiritual master knows well how to engage his disciples' energy in the transcendental loving service of the Lord. And thus, he engages the devotee in a specific devotional service according to his special tendency. So that's, I mean, like Ramachandra Prabhu and myself were discussing earlier on, how we can't all be Brahmins. And we can't all expect each other to be Brahmins. That's another misconception we have within our ISKCON society. We expect everyone has to be a Brahmin. Everybody has to be on, it doesn't work.
Prabhupada said we only want Brahmins, it will be a very small movement.
Yes.
Because they're quite rare.
Yes.
The Brahmins are kind of the minority,
Yes.
a small minority.
Very
And
small.
most people are just, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, and many Shudras actually.
Yes.
The guy that digs the garden, mows the garden, most of us are actually, to be honest, just ordinary people.
Yeah.
And we should not pretend to be something that we're not.
Exactly.
Also, that can be pretentious and that can mess things up also. So Prabhupada said that if we just have Brahmins, it would be a very small society.
Yeah.
Yeah, she said. I heard that quote recently. It's a very good, important quote to remember.
And it's very nice, it's fine. It doesn't mean that, I mean, Lord Chaitanya said, Kalo Sudra Sambhava. In this Kali Yuga.
I mean, if you look at some of the greatest devotees in ISKCON, let's take Jayananda as an example.
Yes.
He was not actually a Brahmin by
Not at
nature.
all.
He was building Rathi Yatra carts, he was taking out the trash. But he was a pure devotee.
Yes.
So some of the greatest devotees are not necessarily scholars. They're
Yeah.
just simple, but they're completely one fix. They're hankering to serve Krishna favorably,
Yeah.
and they have an intense greed for service.
Yes.
And when you see someone who has an intense greed for service, then you know that person
Exactly.
is on a quite elevated level.
Yeah.
But it can be any service. It could be, it could be preaching. It could be distributing books. It could be taking out the trash. It could be building a Rathi Yatra chariot. It could be so many things, but it doesn't necessarily have to be Brahminical work. Although there is a need for Brahmins, and Prabhupada wanted, amongst all his followers, some will become expert in scholarship and be able to preach to the highest intellectuals. That is definitely needed. But realistically, that's not everyone. It's a small number.
I interviewed Tripurari Swami and Sridhar Maharaj, our Sridhar Maharaj, who was in Mumbai.
The oldest one, yeah.
And I interviewed them in San Francisco.
Right.
And they said they were out on book distribution with Jayananda on one day in San Francisco. and they wanted to take a break in the mid-afternoon to chant their Gayatri and take prasad. So they stopped. So Jainana, let's have a break and we go on the van and we chant prasad. So they all went back to the van and they sat in the sun outside the van chanting the Gayatri. And Jainanda, he got his thread only came out to here. There was only a little bit of string left. So it only came out to here, and it was black.
Wow.
Because he would tear off bits of the thread to tie things up with his Brahmin thread. And he took his thread out and he chanted for about 30 seconds. And then he put it away. So they continued chanting, and then Tripurari Swami says to Jayananda, "Hey Jayananda, that was one hell of a short Gayatri. How have you chanted so quick?" And Jayananda says, "I'm damned if I can remember a word of it."
Wow.
Not the Gayatri one.
Jayananda couldn't pronounce any Sanskrit.
No,
Prabhupada just laughed and said,
Didn't forget it.
yes, Yankili one shloka.
Yeah.
Anangastyatayantam Janak Pariyapasate Shamnikya Viyuktanam Yogakshenam Vinamyam. Those who worship me with exclusive devotion, meditating on my transcendental form, to them I carry what they lack and I preserve what they have. I heard that was the only shloka he knew, but it was enough. He just understood one shloka perfectly.
Yeah. And this is the devotee that Prabhupada said we should have his picture on all the Rath Yatra cards, and we should celebrate his disappearance day like we do the 6 Goswami.
Yeah, he was actually in the chariot, but the first saint, Prabhupada said, the first saint in ISKCON, first pure devotee,
who didn't know a word of the Gayatri mantra.
Incredible. It just goes to show so much.
The expert spiritual master knows well how to engage his disciples' energy in the transcendental loving service of the Lord, and thus he engages the devotee in a specific devotional service according to his special tendency. A devotee must have only one initiating spiritual master, because in the scriptures, acceptance of more than one is always forbidden. There is no limit, however, to the number of instructing spiritual masters one may accept. Generally, a spiritual master who constantly instructs a disciple in the spiritual science becomes his initiating spiritual master later on. One should always remember that a person who is reluctant to accept a spiritual master and be initiated is sure to be baffled in his endeavor to go back to Godhead. Prabhupada says more or less the same thing in chapter 4, verse 34, that Talvidi Pranipratena purport. One who is not properly initiated may present himself as a great devotee, but in fact, he is sure to encounter many stumbling blocks on his path of progress towards spiritual realization, with the result that he must continue his term of material existence without relief. Such a helpless person is compared to a ship without a rudder, for such a ship can never reach its destination. It is imperative, therefore, that one accept a spiritual master if he at all desires to gain the favor of the Lord. The service of the spiritual master is essential. If there is no chance to serve the spiritual master directly, a devotee should serve him by remembering his instructions. There is no difference between the spiritual master's instructions and the spiritual master himself. In his absence, therefore, his words of direction should be the pride of the disciple. If one thinks that he is above consulting anyone else, including a spiritual master, he is at once an offender at the lotus feet of the Lord. Such an offender can never go back to Godhead. It is imperative that a serious person accept a bona fide spiritual master in terms of the Shastric injunctions. Sri Jiva Goswami advises that one not accept a spiritual master in terms of hereditary or customary social and ecclesiastical conventions. One should simply try to find a genuinely qualified spiritual master for actual advancement in spiritual understanding. So this is quite profound stuff.
Can I
And,
ask? Can I ask a question? So here it is said that just it is imperative therefore the one accept a spiritual master if he at all desires to gain the favor of the Lord. The service of the spiritual master is essential. If there is no chance to serve spiritual master, the devotee should serve him and remember instruction. Mm-hmm.
I remember before when the Leela Amrita was beginning to come out, I was running the restaurant in London, Healthy, Wealthy and Wise. I think it was around 1980, and there was just kind of bootleg copies being distributed. And Satru Maharaj was traveling around, and he came to London to interview some devotees in London. And then during the time he was in London, the Planting the Seed came out, the first copies, and it was like boom! It was like amazing. That was the first one.
What year was that?
Around 1980. And so it was before he produced a volume 2. Planting the Seed was volume 2. A Lifetime in Preparation was volume 1. But that came out years later. He did Planting the Seed, which is the western part of Prabhupada's Leela.
Yes, and then he went back and did the
And then
Prabhupada's arrival.
Yes.
What was it called again?
A Lifetime in Preparation.
That was the second edition. I remember, yeah.
Yeah. So, and it just came out brand new, and I got a copy. I was one of the first people to buy a copy. So I went to Satru Maharaj. I hadn't been his disciple at this stage. I went to Satru Maharaj because he was in Soho Street. He was staying in Soho Street for a few days. And I asked him to autograph the volume. So he wrote immediately, without hesitation, please engage in the valley of Srila Prabhupada and dedicate your life to his mission. So he said, engage in his valley. So this is here. We should follow the instructions of the spiritual master.
Can I ask you that if one thinks that he is above consulting anyone else, including the spiritual master, what does it mean actually? He's in once an offender of the lotus feet of the Lord.
Yeah.
So what?
In his absence, in the absence of the spiritual master, in other words. Therefore, his words of direction shall be the pride of the disciple. So that's the vani, or the direction, the instructions of the spiritual master. If the spiritual master is not around, then we follow his instruction, what he has told us previously to engage in, what he has told us to do.
So we are not consulting with anyone else regarding this.
So we can, because then the spiritual master then would automatically be in favor of us consulting with his god brothers, and so then we would take on that the other shiksha gurus would then take on the role of becoming the instructing spiritual master. And as Prabhupada said earlier on, there is no difference between the two. Or as it says in the verse, or my instructing spiritual master. In his absence, therefore, his words of direction shall be the pride of the disciple. The pride of the disciple. If one thinks that he is above consulting anyone, including a spiritual master, so in other words, we should consult at all times. Not only the spiritual master, but on the authorities who are placed there under the guidance of the spiritual master. Then we should take guidance from those authorities. He is at once an offender at the lotus feet of the Lord. Such an offender can never go back to Godhead. It is imperative, it is absolutely crucial, really serious, that a serious person accept a bona fide spiritual master, but this is the crucial part, in terms of shastric injunctions. So there must be three things there, isn't it? What are those three things? Right? There must be guru, there must be sadhu, and there must be shastra. So all three must be in line.
Mm.
So not only the guru can be off.
Mhm.
Not only the Shastra, because we can misinterpret.
Yes. Exactly.
So it must be in the association of the devotees with the Guru and with the Shastra, with the scriptures. All three must be in line. And then we know for a fact that this is serious, and this is exactly, directly the route that we should be taking. So Prabhupada goes on to say,
I got the message. Sorry, I was a little bit bewildered.
okay,
So actually, I was thinking different. Yeah. So actually, he said that we should always consult him with
Yeah.
spiritual matter and with our god brothers.
yes, yes,
Wow.
always.
So without consultation, we hardly achieve any progress in
No,
spiritual.
Prabhupada says it very clearly. He's at once an offender at the lotus feet of the Lord.
Wow.
That's pretty serious.
So,
Wow.
in other words, we have to find shelter of Vaishnavas.
Yes.
Because actually, quality of a Vaishnava is always on what's called anugatya, always under the direction of senior Vaishnavas, always, constantly. And if his guru leaves, then he should take shiksha from another high-class Vaishnava.
And Prabhupada set that example, didn't he?
He did.
When I remember when I interviewed Karanda, yeah, and he refused to give me an interview. And Brahmananda had just given up sannyas, and he passed through Los Angeles that particular week
Uh-huh.
when I was trying to contact Karanda.
Wow.
Karanda was on the other side of LA, very far away.
Uh-huh.
And he said, no, I'm not really interested. So then I told Brahmananda, because I was with Brahmananda in Nairobi, so we had known each other. So I asked Brahmananda, can you talk to him? So Brahmananda picked up, this is Brahmananda Das, and he was known as Brahmananda Swami then.
Yeah.
This is Brahmananda Das. And he said, Karanda, I'm here in LA. He said, there's a devotee here who's been trying to interview you, and he came all the way from Ireland just to talk to you. And they're refusing to talk to him. Karanda said, oh, okay, he can come. I give him 10 minutes. So I went to the other side of LA. I spent a whole week with Karanda.
You're kidding.
Yeah.
Wow. For a week.
Yeah, I was with him for a week.
Prabhupada loved Karanda.
Yes,
He was very
absolutely.
together.
Loved him.
Loved Karanda.
So Prabhupada would always say on all the temples in the West Coast that Karanda opened, he started the BBT. He set up the whole system, the whole structure. He started Spiritual Sky. I mean, him and Gargamuni. I mean, he did an ocean of service. Prabhupada said, in my absence, consult Karanda.
Is it?
Yeah,
Wow.
so many times. Prabhupada was setting up Karanda to take over.
Really?
Yeah, as the next leader of the movement.
Did he write some book about his time with Prabhupada?
No, he didn't. He left Krishna consciousness during Prabhupada's time. That's another whole story I've told the
Must be
story.
something.
I'll tell that
Oh,
story.
you know the whole thing?
Yeah.
Oh, he told you over that week what happened?
Satsang Maharaj also
Oh, I'd
confirmed.
love to hear all that.
Yeah.
Yeah, also.
There was, the other GBCs, they were a little bit, not only in awe of Karanda, he did so much. Karanda was really young. I think he was 22 or 23 when he got Prabhupada.
Super
He
empowered.
did this like amazing amount of work.
Wow.
So the other GBCs, the GBC had just been set up, and everybody was on the same level, everybody was equal. So, but Karanda was doing so much, and he got so much of Prabhupada's ear. Whenever Karanda opened his mouth, Prabhupada would listen
Wow.
immediately.
Wow.
Yes, Prabhupada would consult with him.
Amazing.
And so the other GBCs were a little jealous, right? So they all got together, and they wrote a letter to Prabhupada that Karanda, he should be taken down a peg or two, he's too puffed up, he's too proud, and so on and so forth. So they wrote a whole list of all the complaints they had about Karanda. And amongst those complaints was, Karanda took on a second wife, and he was not seen to be chanting his rounds and all this kind of stuff. So they wrote all these things. Satsang Maharaj, who's the one who told me this, he was Prabhupada's secretary at the time. So and Prabhupada was in Hawaii. So he brought Prabhupada's mail into Prabhupada after his lunch. Prabhupada would take a little nap, and then he'd bring the mail in, and Prabhupada would answer the mail. So this letter from the other GBC is not Satrup Maharaj. He was just reading out the letters, and Prabhupada would dictate the answers. So this letter came from the GBC, and Satrup Maharaj is reading it out. And the GBCs are telling Prabhupada, Karandar, he has to go. He should be removed from his position because he has taken on another wife, which is a big thing at the time. So Prabhupada immediately stopped Satrup Maharaj and said, so what? He's taken on another wife. He's a strong man. He needs 10 women. So, and he's not chanting his rounds. And then Prabhupada said to Satrup Maharaj, how do I know you're chanting your rounds? So he took everything out. Satrup Maharaj didn't write the letter.
No.
He was nothing to do with it.
Prabhupada started going off.
But run. And then Prabhupada said, get out. Just dismissed it. Get out.
Just continue reading the letter.
He was only reading the letter. Get out. I don't want to hear anymore from me.
Wow.
For today. So then after an hour, Prabhupada rang his bell. And Satrup Maharaj came in, and Prabhupada said, oh, he's not chanting his rounds? I said, okay, maybe then he should resign. But Prabhupada's instinct was to defend his disciple with everything. Prabhupada loved Karandar back then. But, you know, he had to go with...
Prabhupada didn't like to hear his disciples criticized.
No.
One time a devotee, I heard it on the morning walk actually. It was a lecture, you know, just a recording. Some devotee said, yeah, George Harrison, he's smoking now.
Yeah.
Prabhupada said, no, I don't want to hear that. He's a very good boy.
Yeah.
He is a very good boy.
Yeah.
Prabhupada didn't want to hear that.
No.
He wasn't interested in the small faults.
Yeah.
He wanted to hear.
Prabhupada used to say it's like when you look at the full moon and you say, yeah, it's beautiful, but it has dark spots. Prabhupada didn't like it.
When you love someone, you don't want to hear anything negative about them.
Yeah.
You just don't.
So Prabhupada is saying here in the last line of the purport, second last line, Sri Jiva Goswami advises that one not accept a spiritual master in terms of hereditary or customary social and ecclesiastical conventions. So we shouldn't accept a spiritual master just because somebody else tells you, oh, you go with this one.
Just like you.
As used to be the case in ISKCON, you were told ecclesiastical conventions or customary social. One should simply try to find a genuinely qualified spiritual master for actual advancement in spiritual understanding. So, I mean, this is the instruction from Prabhupada. So,
Can I say that the signs of spiritual advancement, actual spiritual advancement, it's your enthusiasm in the devotional service?
yes, yes.
So basically,
It's one of the signs, without a doubt.
what else? I mean, if you approach bona fide spiritual master, then immediately you feel enthusiastic
Yeah.
to do something for him.
Exactly, without a doubt. So I said that I would talk for half an hour. I've got more than an hour, so
Very nice.
I'm doing monobrat now. Please.
My spiritual master, when he see me as well, I didn't have any question. I was of course zero, you know, and that was first my meeting was before pranama mantra. Everybody have some question, the right thing, you know. It was 20 people in the room, but I didn't. Everything what I'm here is like was okay. You need to chant. You need to chant purely, you know. And I don't chant kind of nicely. What's the question I can ask? It still will come back to the question about your chanting, and I tell that Guru Maharaj, really I didn't have a question. Why I didn't have a question? And I know like you will come back to that. And he told me, yes, thank you so much for your understanding, but never lose the enthusiasm. That is his instruction, and that instruction for all your life.
Yes.
And just like, you know, you're reading that and then just like, you know,
Yeah,
come back.
that's true. That's a fact. Enthusiasm.
You know what's my realization about enthusiasm and losing enthusiasm? It's when you happen to be with a person which is more senior than you, and he is not in good mood or not his good period of his life, and you consider that he is giving you like this kind of suppress your enthusiasm a little bit as something wrong with you.
In what way?
In a way of just being not enthusiastic. Like if someone criticizes you because he has maybe some kind of his internal things you don't know,
Yeah.
but he's not, because mood of Prabhupada is to not support bad things, support good things. This they all his mood of growing up such wonderful devotees and disciples.
Exactly.
And if you find a senior person who criticizes you, who try to to put you down a little bit, maybe he's not experienced, maybe something wrong with his.
Yeah.
But the thing is, when you do your conclusion about that, oh, I'm not good, it actually comes from the parents.
Yeah.
I'm not good enough. I'm bad. That is the cause of all the struggles.
Yeah.
Because usually it's easy. Okay, he has bad mood. I go to someone who is more enthusiastic and speak to him.
Yeah.
And sometimes we take it so serious. Someone's worse. Don't make conclusion about this. My insight. Don't make conclusion about someone else and about yourself as well.
Yeah.
It's like bad mood today. That's it. Simple. Tomorrow is better.
Like Prabhupada did with Karanda. Don't make these negative conclusions. Prabhupada was so enthusiastic to support his disciples, even though there were some faults there. But still, Prabhupada was fully behind his disciple and fully supportive of all the service he had done for him. Okay, thank you very much. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
His Grace Adil Prabhu Ki.
Jai.
Shri Chaitanya Prabhu.
Я что-то сегодня думала, 7:30. Так, сижу себе, 7 часов, пишу.